It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap, and now the favorite part of the show for me, where we reveal the background that Tim has on his screen. And I'm pretty sure I know what it is this week, Tim. It's you naked in a suggestive pose on a Bud Light can. That's got to be it, right? Am I right? All right.
That would be a suggestion not to drink the beer.
Well,
yeah.
Let's
nope. It's not a Bud Light. It is not a Bud Light.
Let's take a look at it. I only get one guess.
I didn't know the rules.
Yeah, that unfortunately is. So here's the reveal coming up. And let's see if I understand this reference here. It looks like you're in a basement with piping above you is
full of leaks.
Leaks, of course. Leak. Are you OG? Now was that guy revealed? Do we know who that is now?
Oh yeah, they hauled him off. He's a national.
Well, that must have happened today.
Air National Guardsman. Well, by the time people are watching this, they'll all know he's an Air National Guardsman.
It's news to me.
From Massachusetts, and he looks about 12.
Okay. And so what was he? What was his job?
I think he mowed Joe Biden's lawn. That's had access to the garage.
Biden has all these documents sitting around and everything, and just has and the hired help getting access to all this stuff. No, actually, I saw in the rundown that the guy was now identified, and I love when it's news to me. It gives it a fresh approach. It reminds me of the sportscaster Bill Frink. This was after his years at Channel 7 when he was a big-time sportscaster. He became a sportscaster for Channel 9, which is pretty much where a lot of people go out to pasture. And he wouldn't look ahead of time at the highlights. And they would come on, and he was once like doing some highlights over a boxing match, and the guy got knocked out. He said, "Wow, did that guy get hit?" So it's kind of something, seeing it fresh de novo that way. Actually, there's no excuse. I thought I was doing my.
I don't know. I think that might make the sports segment more entertaining.
I would think so.
If he's calling it as he sees it for the first time.
Right. It's like you're doing play-by-play, and it's news to you. All right. Well, actually, I thought it was going to, and we'll get to that subject, when I get to do some homework in between segments here, but and catch up. But I thought it was you on a Bud Light can because. Well, first of all, the Biden administration has come up with some gobbledygook rules on the transgenders in sports, and try to follow this. They said that educational facilities in receipt of federal funds shouldn't apply, quote, one-size-fits-all policies that categorically ban transgender students from participating in athletics consistent with their gender identity across all sports age groups and levels of competition. So the federal government, in its infinite wisdom, Tim, is promulgating a one-size-fits-all rule that says school districts shouldn't use a one-size-fits-all rule when it comes to transgenders in sports, because by its very definition, when the federal government promulgates a rule, it's one-size-fits-all. So I would, say to the federal government, why don't you just get out of our tree right here, man? And I'm using the man, the Bidenism there, because. Of course, it's Title IX, it's federal funds, and that's the problem. I mean, why is this left to the federal government, even though the federal government does say, well, we should, little kids, they're not really in highly competitive sports. It doesn't really matter. And what, of course, it bothers me that they're thinking that little kids are transgenders. They'll allow the little kids to have the gender affirming care, but they'll let the school district tell them that whether they should play or not. I don't know. Your views on this?
I thought Title IX originally, the idea was, or the way it's been applied over the years, is that schools have to spend an equal amount of money on women's sports as they do men's sports. and that actually brought up ridiculous things like
Oh, sure.
women's hockey.
Right. And it shut down a lot of men's sports. And now the chickens are coming home to, or the hens are, or the roosters are coming home to roost, whatever, or the chicken becoming a rooster is coming home to roost. Because this is happening to women's sports now too.
But basically back then when Title IX came, they never said, well, you can't expect women to try out for men's sports. That's essentially, I mean, they said, well, no, it's equal because any woman can, be in the U of M football team. And they can all try out. They have equal access. I mean, that was kind of why.
Look, I always felt.
So it occurs to me that the only way to rectify with Title IX is to have a third division, and have colleges should offer transgender sports.
Of course, that would discriminate. I mean, but it reminds me. I always thought that women should be field goal kickers. Because the men are now they can kick these 64-yard field goals, and it's wreck the game. But if you made it so that a woman had to be the kicker, and I believe Kathy Ireland, former Sports Illustrated cover girl, was in a movie where a woman was a kicker for the whatever team. But and so there would be a limit there on the distance that they could kick, but it would have to be a woman. It's just a little side light there. I'll just give it to Bill Frink, the late Bill Frink, and he can use it in his sportscast.
Maybe do that in baseball. Just have the pitchers have to be women. That way, we can just watch guys walk the bases all night.
Anyway, which brings us to who is a woman and who was pretending to be a woman, and then of course brings us to there's Kathy Ireland right there. Dylan Mulvaney. That Anheuser-Busch has lost something like $4 billion because of that promo. We talked about it, last week, but it's really come to the fore now. Having Dylan Mulvaney on the Bud Light can. And I remember when this first happened, people were saying, well, Anheuser-Busch doesn't know its market, and they're going to turn off so many people. And then one wise, shrewd pundit on Twitter said, oh, look, all the old white guys are dying. They have got to capture, the younger crowd. And of course, this is turning out to be something that's as big a fiasco as the new Coke. There's nothing. No, I mean, it's somebody wrote that there are dart leagues that are that they were protesting against this and won't drink Bud Light, which had sponsored dart leagues. Hell's Kitchen, which apparently is a big gay community in New York. Even the gays don't like this. So, I don't think they like Bud Light. I think that's the problem. Well,
I mean,
the
problem wasn't the marketing. The problem was the product. The product appealed to, someone who liked cold water. Yeah, carbonated water.
Right, especially with craft beers nowadays. I mean, who really wants a Bud Light? There was apparently, the Clydesdale shows. They have Clydesdale shows. They had to cancel them because employees were being threatened. I mean, and I would hate to see a Clydesdale named Khartoum with its head severed and in somebody's bed, the marketing director of Bud Light's bed because of what happened here. That's just...
well, no, that's actually a jackass, Bruce. He identifies as a Clydesdale.
Yes. There you go. All right, let's move to speaking of jackasses. So, these Democrats in the Tennessee House, both named Justin, which is very convenient, were ousted. One of them got back in. Apparently, was put back in.
They're both back in.
Oh, they're both back in now. But it's news. Every story is news to me.
Just in time.
Yeah, there we go. And and the thing is the way the media have covered this. Now, you're familiar with, of course, Liz Harris, the Arizona representative that was kicked out. Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you probably agreed with everything that she had to say about the conspiracy theories and all that. But of course, the way the media covered that was like it was a straight story. This is a person who, was disruptive and deserved to be kicked out. But as far as these Tennessee Democrats, the whole thing was covered like, their freedom of speech was being taken away. And then you start thinking, well, these guys are no better than the people who invaded the Capitol on January 6th. They were using bullhorns.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that if Representatives Bobart, Gates, and Green all took bullhorns into there and actually said, "Stop the count! Stop the count!" I mean, oh my gosh!
And I love bullhorns because you can do my imitation of a Chicago L conductor in the old days, going, Fullerton, change for the Ravenswood, which was one of my best imitations ever. No smoking or spitting. But I mean, they were, this guy was horrible. And apparently one of these Justins is it Pearson? I can't remember which, I can't get their names. They're kind of fungible to me. But apparently somebody put on Twitter, and I got this from the commentary podcast, John Podhoretz mentioning it, that on Twitter, they showed this guy just a few years ago, like in 2016, he was running for student council or something like that. And he talks in like a regular, normal voice. And then they show him on a podium, like recently, where he's imitating Martin Luther King. And I tell you that we need freedom right now.
Representative Zelig.
I mean, he's doing shtick. It's like Dylan Mulvaney's doing shtick. He's not really a woman. This guy isn't really downtrodden. Unbelievable. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle. I promised to catch up on the news on the weekly wrap.
That's right. Well, Errol and Lana, just as you laid out, 3 U.S. officials are now confirming to us here at CBS News to colleagues that a suspect in this matter is Jack Teixeira, who is a member of, we believe, the intelligence arm of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. His unit, per our Pentagon team, would typically be handling intelligence collected by surveillance aircraft like Reaper and Predator Jones. And according to other reports, we understand him to be a young man, possibly the administrator of this small Discord server where months ago highly classified materials began appearing before they spread to other sites. There's a lot of questions swirling about his identity and his access right now, including why somebody at his level would have had access to these really highly finished classified intelligence products really meant for the senior-most defense leadership at the Pentagon.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. And Tim, I'm proud to report that I really caught up on all the news during the break there. And they did find the Lindbergh baby. So I mean, actually was going to say the Hindenburg baby because I'm conflating a lot of things. So Jack Teixeira will be a name that's on our lips for at least the 24-hour news cycle. He's just a kid. I mean,
yeah. How did he have access to that stuff?
He's barely old enough to order a Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light right now. And how did he get access? I didn't know that I'm not knowledgeable about the hierarchy of the military, but I gotta think that Massachusetts Air National Guard ranks somewhere just above a Civil War reenactment soldier.
Wasn't the Penn Biden Center? Wasn't that that was in Boston, wasn't it? Maybe
I thought it was in Beijing, but I'm not really sure.
It was in Chinatown, Boston. Maybe that's what. Maybe Joe hired some Air National Guard kids to move boxes.
There's going to be some link to Biden. You know that. I mean, he was hiding out in Ireland lately, but we can find a nexus
with Hunter. Now that's a party. I want to spend a week in Ireland with Hunter.
Oh, man. So as far as these leaked documents, I really haven't, as you know, I'm a little bit behind the news. So I haven't really caught up. I haven't read all the Pentagon papers yet.
If I'm not mistaken, they indicated that, yes, we have U.S. troops on the ground in Ukraine.
Well, yeah, I knew you were going to say that, and I'd seen a tweet somewhere that says it's not what you really think it is, but I didn't go any further on it, so I'm not prepared to argue that because I knew that you were going to say, oh yeah, we're ratcheting it up, mission creep, sure.
Well,
But I think the general
well,
impression is that there wasn't really that much a surprise there. I remember when the Pentagon Papers came out that after that National Review, William F. Buckley came out with fake Pentagon Papers, and they were even holding press conference on it, and they were just trying to. It was a hoax, and they just wanted to show that you could, you could make up documents that look realistic, and there wasn't all that much here.
so that went on before the Steele dossier.
It was actually done by the post-crypto Nazi William F. Buckley, according to Gore Vidal. But we'll get to the Chicago Democratic Convention in just a minute here.
I don't think it's any surprise that we had U.S. troops on the ground. I mean, all the equipment we sent them, they don't know how to use it. I mean,
all right. Well, all right. It does, like I say. I mean,
it's like me giving a computer to my parents.
I get it. The main people that really are upset right now are South Korea and Israel, apparently, being pressured to supply Ukraine. However, it doesn't. Some people look at this as that. It looks like Putin can win this thing, but other people look at it as though, well, if we just provide the equipment, Ukraine couldn't win it. So I don't know that it was all that definitive, but it certainly is bothersome that this kid was able to leak this stuff. That is that's troublesome.
Maybe somebody wanted it leaked.
There you go. Well, a lot of times, actually, people were thinking that this was a fake. That that they were just pretending that this kid was doing it. Maybe he's a patsy, like Lee Harvey Oswald was a patsy. Huh?
He leaked it on a video game site.
Yeah, right.
And he started leaking it last fall.
Yeah.
Did you? So I mean, we just heard about it. So obviously, nobody took it seriously until quite recently.
Right. Well, all right. Now that we got that all wrapped up, so I was, because I'm just basically cribbing stuff here from the commentary podcast, but they rely on some people too. They had this guy Mark Halperin on, and he's not a Trump supporter by any stretch of the imagination, but he was one of the first guys, one of the first pundits to say that Trump really had a shot, and that was back in 2015. And now he is saying, and you will probably be heartened by this, that Trump still has a shot at winning this time too. I mean, we counted him out among the
prison didn't keep Nelson Mandela out of the presidency.
Well, fortunately, he had Joe Biden as a roommate for part of that time, keeping company. But the Real Clear Politics average shows Trump up like 1.8 on Biden, and the thing is that Republicans don't have to be leading in the real clear politics poll or in the polls, because Republicans don't win by getting the popular vote. They win by winning the states in the electoral college. So, if the Republicans are up, if that's really accurate, that's really great news for Trump. It looks like Iowa, Ohio, and Florida. I mean, there's no way that that can that the Democrats going to win those, and Trump can win Georgia and Arizona if he doesn't alienate too many people. Yes, it's winnable.
I drove to Michigan. I drove to Michigan for Easter, and all along the way there were people that had Trump flags and Trump signs, and there was actually an overpass where there were actually people with Trump flags waving at the traffic underneath. So
right.
It's
anecdotal, but I'll take it.
No, it's totally anecdotal. I'm just saying
I've
never seen that enthusiasm for Biden.
Right. I know. Of course, Biden ran a whole basement campaign. So, I mean, he was never out there, but he still, according to some people, actually got 81 million votes. According to some people. Now, here's the thing. Excuse me. This Halperin also believes that Biden's not going to run. He thinks he's got a couple of sources. One of them apparently was the one who outed this kid.
Well, I think
no. So he believes that, and because Biden's going to be 86 years old when his term ends, and he won't be able to last the term, and he's not going to run. That throws the whole thing wide open.
Well, that's what they said about Dianne Feinstein too. So
speaking of Dianne Feinstein, now there was the first House Democrat, I forget his name, called for her to resign, and she's not showing up to things. Also, she has shingles. Now, how could somebody, any Democrat who, was making sure that we were vaccinated up the wazoo for COVID, possibly get shingles? I mean, you have to have been vaccinated against that.
Well, maybe that one doesn't work either.
Or maybe she's so old that the shingle shots that she got 20 years ago have already worn off. I don't know, but that to me was all about the shingles.
Or maybe her dentures were slipping and she said singles.
Yeah, I shouldn't laugh at that. I really shouldn't laugh at that. So,
but here's the thing: I don't think the Democrats want Joe Biden to run. I think they pretty much understand that there's a reason why he hasn't done a press conference in however long it's been. And I don't think they want him to run. But the thing is, in order for them to get him not to run, they have to admit that they know what we know.
That Kamala sucks.
Well, that too, yeah, but he's not president. He's not.
No, sure.
It's my guess here, put on the tinfoil. It's that Jill's been doing everything, and it's Jill who's decided. It's Jill who's decided that he will run again because she doesn't want to move. She kind of likes the house and the jet.
No, I have a similar theory. I think it's Feinstein's wife, who is running both by the presidency and Fetterman, excuse me, not Feinstein, Fetterman's wife. I need a little check too here. It's Fetterman's wife who's running both the
from a zip line in Canada.
Yeah. Now here's one problem. What's with Ron DeSantis? He's like coming out in favor of a 6-week ban on abortion. I mean, that's, if you want to get those independent votes, because that in the swing states, how are you going to do it with a 6-week ban on abortion? It just seems like it's too far. I mean, 15 weeks apparently is the thing that's popular. But 6 weeks is not.
So after 6 weeks, so no abortion. Is that what you're saying? So abortion's illegal.
Well, he wants a ban, after 6 weeks.
Huh.
And that's kind of, you didn't know that,
all abortion. No, I didn't.
Oh, well, I'm just glad, because I feel so ridiculous that I didn't know who the guy was a little bit earlier, the leaker. No, I don't know if it's all.
Are there exceptions for at least rape? I don't know of incest, because
I really don't.
You got 6 weeks to figure out if that was your uncle or not.
It just seems like it's a little, that's cut too close. I mean, for as far as politically, I'm not talking morally or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, totally understand the moral argument for banning it. It's just, it doesn't seem savvy. And here's this guy who seems to be drifting behind Trump with each succeeding Tucker Carlson interview. No.
Well, the thing is, it really doesn't affect him as president, because he can't do that. He can't. Do that.
People don't know that. People don't know that. I mean,
he could.
I don't even know if the state courts will have to interpret abortion law. Just because the Supreme Court of the United States did doesn't mean these state courts do. But people are winning elections based on that. We'll have more on this in some subsequent weeks. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
More breaking news. The location of the 2024 Democratic National Convention has been decided. Three sources tell NBC the Democratic Party has chosen Chicago as host city. President Biden called Illinois Governor Pritzker this morning to tell him about this decision, even though he has yet to officially announce his own candidacy, despite telling Al Roker just yesterday that he does plan to run. The decision comes after months of discussions and visits to different cities, including New York and Atlanta. It's believed that the victory of the new progressive mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, may have fueled that city's momentum in this race. Again, Chicago will be the convention center.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. I heard that the reason that Chicago got it was because Atlanta doesn't have as many unionized hotels as we do. And also Pritzker is willing to pay a lot of the bill, their cost overruns or whatever, or debt. I think it's interesting that the unionized hotels cause the prices to go up, but Pritzker is going to, thank goodness we got Democratic billionaires. We're going to pay for this. And this could actually be the convention which nominates J.B. Pritzker, your first Jewish president, because as we mentioned in the last segment, there's some people who thinking that Biden isn't going to run. So who's going to fill the
who else is there? Is it Kamala?
So they are really down on her. I mean,
there's a JFK.
Everybody is.
JFK Jr. That's definitely an interesting possibility, because he could actually attract a lot of the.
Now, JFK Jr. is dead, isn't he?
JFK. Oh no, I'm sorry. RFK Jr. RFK,
the anti-vaxxer.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
I could see him getting no, he's much thinner. I could see him getting a lot of support, pulling a lot of the anti-vaxxer vote away from Trump supporters, especially if the Republicans don't nominate Trump, because they're going to kind of be politically homeless.
I don't think these Kennedys at this point are fungible. I don't think anyone has any
even one with
heft.
that does a bad Katharine Hepburn impression and doesn't like vaccinations.
He does look like a Kennedy. There's no question about it. But He looks like the guy who would have been on the bench at Hyannisport for the annual touch football game. I don't think he's got it. So
it's and over on the Republican side, we were talking before about DeSantis.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that he's willing to sign on that abortion bill might be an indication that he's giving up the campaign.
Wow.
Because, it's 4 years from now, people will have forgotten that he signed it. And it's not going to hurt his gubernatorial chances, because most of his constituents are postmenopausal. So they really don't care about. They're postmenopausal and want grandchildren. They're tired of their kids. They're tired of their kids putting their grandchildren in medical waste dumpsters.
Right. And I mean, they want to take their children to Disney World.
Right, exactly.
In the great state of Florida. Well, unless you've got some leaked emails from OG, the Massachusetts Air National Guardsman. I haven't heard any indication of that whatsoever, but that is interesting.
Because he might actually be looking at this and seeing that Trump is going to be the martyred candidate. That these court cases are going to, are going to just be super for him. And align the party behind him.
Well, it certainly seems like the Bragg case is. The document case is going to be a difficult one, because even though everybody takes home documents, and Hillary, bleach bitted 30,000 emails. And
did you hear the latest on that one, Bruce?
Well, let's hear this. Okay, all right.
Apparently, there was a FOIA request made, and it turns out that there is no way that the DOJ could just say, well, yeah, we want those documents. The archives have no access to the documents that Trump was holding. There is only one way that those documents could be removed from the possession of a Trump, and that's if the sitting president says he needs them.
Really? Really? That's the law now?
That's the law. And that actually, they have found the FOIA request shows that the Biden administration requested those documents.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it kind of blows the case.
Well, yeah, because then it's politically motivated.
Yep.
They requested it. No, that'll be another one in Trump's favor on that one. Okay, that's two investigations down. Now let's go over to Georgia right now, and the call. It was a perfect phone call. Okay, so that's fine. We got anything else going on?
Find the votes. Find the votes does not sound like corruption unless you're doing it with a Sopranos accent.
Exactly. So 4 Walmart stores were closed in Chicago. And essentially, the first thing I think of is, they couldn't deal with the retail theft. I mean, that's what it was. But interestingly, I read the Wall Street Journal story on it, and they specifically had somebody say that theft had nothing to do with it. However, I read an ABC7 story, and ABC7, let the record show, is the liberal establishment newscast in Chicago. I mean, they've got Cheryl Burton as one of their anchors. Enough said. Race ipsa loquitur on that one. So you'd think a Murdoch-owned media entity like the Wall Street Journal would trumpet the conservative view that theft had something to do with it. Then again, for all the power that he has over content, Murdoch might as well be as dead as spoiler alert here, Logan Roy.
Well, here's what I think. Walmart is red state America. Walmart, they said that those 4 stores in their 17-year history never once turned a profit. And I think Walmart just doesn't fit into a city like Chicago. Walmart in Chicago is like a transgender promoting Bud Light. It just, it's a bad fit.
I mean, they may as well have put a sign over the Walmart store on the south side. This is MAGA country. Yeah, right. They were
it's like Whole Foods. It's like Whole Foods on the south side. How did that do?
Well, right. But they were trying to make, one of the things they said was, well, they don't change their prices for the neighborhoods or whatever. I mean, grocery stores don't make much of a profit anyway. I mean, it's razor thin. And
how long has Moo and Oink been there? That's got to be going on it like 70 years that Moo and Oink has been operating down there, still doing killer business.
Sure.
Put a Whole Foods right next to it so you can pick up some organic greens to go with your box of chitlins.
Anyway, speaking of Rupert Murdoch, is Gabriel Sherman, who was profiling what's going on with Murdoch and Fox, and the lawsuit continues, but the personal stuff is really something, because Murdoch, what is he, 92 years old now? He dumped his fiance because she seemed to be some kind of nutcase who thought that Tucker Carlson is a messenger from God. And even though that's Murdoch's biggest star, he doesn't believe that he's a messenger. He's a messenger from God. So,
well, when you get to be 92, you start getting nervous about messages from God.
Sure, you're cramming for your finals. I get it, and the way he dumped Jerry Hall, who, if you recall, was Mick Jagger's wife at one point. He just he gave her an email saying, sadly, I've decided to call an end to our marriage. We've certainly had some good times, but I have much to do. My New York lawyer will be contacting yours immediately. And she said she was blindsided by this because she and Rupert never even fought. Well, that's probably that's a telltale sign right there. You don't fight with your wife. There isn't a lot going on.
I'll bet they rarely met.
Probably. So anyway, when she settled,
she kind of lost the slot machine. That slot machine is due to hit any minute, and she got up off the seat, and someone else took it.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, Jerry Hall settled into her Oxfordshire home that she got in the divorce, and she discovered surveillance cameras were still sending footage back to Fox headquarters. So Mick Jagger, her ex, sent his security consultant to disconnect them. Pleased to meet you. Won't you guess my name? It's Rupert Murdoch. But I just love the idea of Mick Jagger, street fighting man, strutting around the stage. He's a working class guy with a security team that could disconnect. But Mick Jagger probably could have found the leaker for us. Oh my God. I love the guy. He went to the London School of Economics. It's hysterical that they're so corporate.
Oxfordshire does not sound like a place. It sounds more like a type of a coat.
Maybe it's a coat and a place.
Yeah,
isn't Burberry a place? I don't know.
I thought it was a fruit.
What about London fog? Is it?
Well,
it's a fog, and it's
we know what that is. That's a prop in Sherlock Holmes films.
There you go. And there's Mick. Oh yeah, street fighting man. Oh, here, I'll send my security detail over to you. We'll dismantle those cameras.
It's somebody actually mentioned that the Beatles were actually working class. They came from Liverpool. They were hard scrapple. Guys. Whereas all the Stones, they're all frat boys. They're all rich London frat boys trying to pretend. And what's really funny is here's the Beatles, working class guys pretending to be classical musicians, and then with the Stones you got the other. You've got high society pretending to be poor black.
Sure. Who were you just talking about before? Who was? They're as phony as that Tennessee legislator. I am running for student council. We're going to put in a new potato machine, and I asked the mayor, and the mayor wouldn't help me. And I asked the governor, and we really would like a candy bar machine as well. Oh yeah, everybody's got an act. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap.
Your badge number and the caddy bib number this week was 49. April 9. I don't know if there was something in the stars, because it sure looks like things were aligned. And it was a sweet moment, not only with Kelly and your baby boys, your dad, but to see Jose Maria there to celebrate with you. What did he tell you?
I can't quite remember. He said he hopes is the first of many more. We both mentioned something about Sevi, and if he had given us 10 more seconds, I think we would have both ended up crying.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. Yes, we're here at 18, and we're bored out of our minds right now. Did you watch the Masters at all?
Was that this weekend?
Right. So it was very disappointing. It took so long.
Mm-hmm.
And Brooks Koepka, I don't want to make excuses for him, but I'm sure he was out of sync because they were just waiting for the foursome ahead of time for so long. It was ridiculous. And Jim Nantz.
So they're sticking that time that they're cutting off a baseball into golf, huh?
Just adding it to golf, and and then Koepka was out of it, and Rahm easily won. And it just dragged. And Nance was trying to vamp. He was trying to say things. You saw it right there. I haven't heard so much numerology since Farrakhan's last speech that I watched. No, sure. And I got to give Rahm credit because I hadn't really heard him speak before or very much. And he was actually pretty eloquent. He said that this was a testament to Seve Ballesteros, his countrymen, late countrymen. And, anytime you hear a golfer use the word testament, old or new, I don't care. That's pretty good. Most of them are, kind of a cookie cutter, but, and Rahm doesn't even look like all the other golfers. He's got, a little bit of a gut. He has a short backswing, very powerful. And, it's good. It was good to see him win, but it just dragged on. And like I say, Jim Nantz misses Nick Faldo. You probably never watched this, but Faldo was he won like 6 or 8 majors himself, and he was a very astute analyst and also very funny as well. And they've got this guy right now, Trevor Immelman. He just doesn't have it, and it's too bad. Dan Proft and I, when we did the show on WLS, once interviewed Nick Faldo, and he was on the phone with us. And after the interview was over, he didn't realize that his phone was still on. And he said, these guys talk so much you can't even get a word in edgewise. And so we use that as a drop in for the rest of our term there. Because he was absolutely right about that. But
Sure.
Nick, when I'm on the air, I do the talking, and I'm like Jim Nance. But yeah, Nance, it just seemed like he was trying to make up for the loss of Faldo, and he's going into all that numerology and everything, and especially with all the time to kill. But in other sports news, speaking of Johns, Jonathan Toews. Did you ever watch a hockey game with Jonathan Toews in it? Nah.
No, I don't think I did.
Okay. So he's like one of the greatest Blackhawks of all time. And as we are recording this, he is about to appear in his last game as a Chicago Blackhawk. And, when I think of all the great stories about Jonathan Toews, I mean, all the points he scored, the 3 Stanley Cups that he won with the Blackhawks, and how his uniform number 19 will be retired. When I think of all the great stories about him, the one that really comes to mind is the time that I ticked off a lot of his fans on Twitter because Leonardo DiCaprio had won the Academy Award, and he got up there and started talking about environmental issues. And, we all know Leo
Sure.
believes in renewables. Like he doesn't want fossils as girlfriends. He wants, to renew with a 25-year-old. So I totally understand his conservation views. But Jonathan Toews tweeted, yeah, hey, way to go, Leo. That's terrific. And I tweeted back to Jonathan Toews, shut up and play hockey. So a lot of Jonathan Toews fans started, pillaring me because you don't say anything bad about Jonathan Toews' political views. Okay. So, hey, Johnny, if you're the captain, if you're retiring now, we'd love to have you as a guest. We'll talk politics with you.
Interesting. Leonardo DiCaprio's number is also 19, isn't it?
Right. There we go. So
I didn't realize they retire the number when you leave for another team.
No, there are certain players who you didn't do a lot of sports when you were when you were a kid, did you?
Never.
Yeah. What were you doing all that time? What are your interests if not sports?
Pot.
Okay. So I mean, you weren't even a gamer like this Air National Guardsman, and of course they didn't have
a little
like
early for that. It was
Yeah.
it was Pong and Pac-Man was pretty
Sure.
much the
that's actually
high end of that.
really, I was over the hill by the time those games came out. But no, they will retire a jersey of a player, or in Blackhawks case, they call them sweaters. They will retire that
because it's a Canadian sport.
I guess so. They will retire them if you've had a wonderful Hall of Fame like career, and they will retire his jersey as they did with Patrick Kane recently.
But I think if you leave the team for another team, you don't get your sweater retired. I'm sorry, no, these are expensive. The
Blackhawks actually told him we don't want you anymore. So
okay.
Yeah.
But we'll keep okay. So get the hell out of here and leave the sweater. We want to hang that up.
Right. And besides, Dale Talon wore number 19 better than Jonathan Toews. No, you do have a point there. In the old days, the players didn't leave the teams.
Right.
I mean, they stayed there. Remember, that indentured servitude that you had? I mean, who was a more loved sports figure than Ernie Banks? And nobody. And a big reason for that is that he played his entire major league career with the Cubs. Now, of course, had there been free agency at the time, he would have skedaddled and gotten a better contract. But yeah, there is something to be said for that. But we like to retire our jerseys. As a matter of fact, the Cubs have 2 number 31 jerseys retired, both Greg Maddux and Fergie Jenkins. And the Blackhawks, I believe, have 2 number 3s, Keith Magnuson and Pierre Pilote. And now I'm sounding like Jim Nance with all these numbers. So decision heal thyself. Yeah.
You retire a jersey, then give the number to someone else?
Interestingly, I think they retired those jerseys after they gave them to somebody else
at the same time. Because I mean, you
now that we got that all straight.
Yeah, you'd have to at least, like operating systems. It would have to be, Jersey 3.0 and 3.1.
Right. No, you're absolutely right about that. Let us turn to even more silliness. Did you see this one where the Dalai Lama had to apologize after a video emerged showing him kissing a child on the lips and then asking him to, quote, suck my tongue at an event? Now,
hello, Dolly.
I'm sure the kid's going to get total consciousness, at his death. But I mean,
and lots of mouthwash.
What? Maybe this is one of their practices. And who are we to question this?
Yeah, well, imagine that. Someone that was abducted as a child into a monastery, had his head shaved, and wears orange robes is a little bit nuts. That's a shock.
Do you know that Brett Baer, the straight-laced Fox News anchorman, special report guy, actually interviewed the Dalai Lama once and actually asked him, because Brett is a great golf fan, he asked him if he had ever seen Caddyshack and knew about the Bill Murray routine where he says, plays golf with the Dalai Lama and he promises him total consciousness on his death. The Dalai Lama didn't know what he was talking about, but he did ask Brett to suck his tongue, and
and that was on 4/19. Interestingly enough,
right, 4/9 was the Sevi's birthday. Let's not forget Sevi's birthday. So, what are you watching on TV these days? I mentioned before that I'm watching Yellowstone, and we also watched Friday Night Lights. We just finished it. It was 5 seasons it started like about 13 years ago. It was Texas high school football.
Sure.
And how could you miss with high school football and
girls with good
no
cleavage?
chance.
So it's like they're 30-year-olds playing
30-year-olds with a lot of silicone. Yeah, I just but it was a fun show. But I think I don't know. I think like I'm in a no man's land now because I'm finding these shows like Yellowstone and Friday Night Lights and even Succession. I think I'm biased against Succession because it's all about Fox, like a Fox type network. And I'd love to see Adam McKay and Will Ferrell executive produce a series about MSNBC, where I'm sure they could find just as much corruption manifesting itself in a different way. But I must be getting a little too sophisticated and refined, yet I don't want to make the leap to something, like Fellini's 8.5 or something like that. So, so I'm caught twixt and tween. I know that you're,
we're now halfway through Peaky Blinders.
Oh, well, okay. That's fun. There's a lot of blood and guts in that one too.
Mm-hmm. That one's fun. I was over my mom's house for Easter. She was watching Cursed. I don't know if it's pronounced like that or just cursed.
Oh, okay.
Cursed. And,
all right.
That's
all right.
It's kind of like Lord of the Sword.
Okay.
It's
all right.
like fairy people with